Why you feel like you're stuck in bad luck, but it's actually the Nova effect. Have you ever felt like the universe is actively working against you, like no matter what you do, things just seem to go wrong? Maybe you've lost a job at the worst possible time, missed out on an opportunity that could have changed your life, or watched someone else succeed while you struggle just to keep up. It's easy to believe in bad luck when everything seems to be falling apart. But what if I told you that what you call bad luck isn't bad at all? What if the worst things that have happened to you are actually the best? What if your struggles, your losses, your failures, everything that felt like a curse, are part of something much bigger, something you just can't see yet? This idea has a name, the Nova effect. It comes from an old story about a man who loses his dog. His neighbors pity him, saying it's bad luck, but then, because his dog is gone, he avoids a tragic accident. The neighbors now say it was good luck, but then, because he wasn't in the accident, something else happens. Another twist of fate that seems bad again, and this cycle continues, revealing a profound truth. We are terrible at judging events in the moment. We label things as good or bad based on how they feel right now, but we have no idea what they truly mean in the long run.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Think about your own life. Can you remember something that once felt like a disaster, only to later realize it was a blessing in disguise? Maybe you got rejected from a job you desperately wanted, only to later find an opportunity that was even better. Maybe a relationship ended and shattered you, but that heartbreak led you to someone who was truly right for you. Or maybe something as small as running late one day put you in the right place at the right time for something incredible to happen. These moments prove that what feels like bad luck might just be part of a bigger process, one you can't understand yet. But here's the problem: most people don't see life this way. When things go wrong, they immediately assume they're cursed, that they're unlucky, that life is unfair. And because they believe this, they stop trying. They let failures define them. They give up too soon. They trap themselves in a negative cycle, where every setback feels like proof that they'll never succeed. But what if they're wrong? What if the very thing they see as their downfall is actually the setup for something greater? This is where philosophy meets reality. The ancient Stoics had a saying, Amor Fati, love your fate. It means embracing everything that happens to you, not just accepting it, but loving it, trusting that even the worst moments are guiding you somewhere important. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not intelligence, talent, or even effort. It's perspective. It's the ability to see beyond the moment, to trust the process, even when it makes no sense. So, here's the real question. What if your so-called bad luck is actually a hidden blessing? What if the universe isn't against you, but is actually setting you up for something far greater than you could ever imagine? Would you still waste time complaining? Would you still let failure stop you? Or would you start looking at your life differently, searching for the hidden meaning in every setback, knowing that what feels like the end might just be the beginning, how the worst moments of your life might be your greatest advantage? It's easy to appreciate the good moments in life: success, love, recognition, opportunity. When things are going well, we feel like we're in control, like we're on the right path. But what happens when things fall apart? What happens when you lose something you thought you couldn't live without? When you fail so badly that you start questioning everything? When life doesn't just knock you down, but leaves you feeling like you might never get back up? Most people see these moments as the ultimate proof that they are unlucky, cursed, or just not meant for success. They believe that life is unfair or that the universe is punishing them. But what if these moments, the painful, devastating, heartbreaking ones, aren't obstacles, but opportunities? What if they are the very thing that will set you apart from everyone else? History is filled with people who turned their worst moments into their greatest advantages. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the company he founded. At the time, it was humiliating, a public failure so massive that most people wouldn't have recovered. But looking back, Jobs said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. Why? Because being fired freed him from the pressure of expectations. It made him rethink everything. It forced him to innovate again. And when he finally returned to Apple, he was stronger, smarter, and more creative than before. Without that failure, the iPhone, the iPad, and some of the most revolutionary technology of our time might never have existed. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first broadcasting job because she was told she wasn't fit for television. Imagine if she had accepted that judgment, if she had let that failure define her. Instead, she took that setback and used it as fuel, as proof that she had something to prove, and now she's one of the most influential figures in media history. But it's not just famous people. If you look at your own life, you'll see the same pattern. Think about the worst thing that ever happened to you. Maybe you lost a relationship, failed in your career, struggled financially, or faced rejection after rejection. At the time, it felt like the end of the world. But did it destroy you? Or did it force you to grow? Did it push you to change, to become stronger, to rethink your path? The problem is that most people don't realize this in the moment. When life gets hard, they assume it's a dead end. They don't see the possibility hidden inside their suffering. And that's where the Nova effect comes in. It reminds us that we are terrible at judging events while they're happening. We don't have the full picture. We don't know what's coming next. And because of that, we often give up too soon. Imagine a person who gets rejected from their dream job. They feel like a failure, like they've wasted years preparing for something that will never happen. But what if that rejection pushes them towards something even better? What if it forces them to develop new skills, to meet new people, to open doors they never would have considered before? What if years later they look back and realize that losing that job was the best thing that ever happened to them? This is why mindset is everything. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who never fail. They are the ones who learn how to use failure as fuel. They don't resist hardship, they embrace it. They don't see setbacks as the end of the road, they see them as part of the journey. And because of that, they keep going when others stop. They keep pushing when others quit. They keep believing in themselves even when the world tells them they are finished. But here's the catch. This only works if you choose to see life this way. If you believe that your failures define you, they will. If you believe that life is unfair and that bad luck is keeping you stuck, then you will never break free. But if you start seeing every challenge as a hidden opportunity, everything changes. Suddenly, your losses aren't losses, they are lessons. What? Your rejections aren't proof that you aren't good enough. They are redirections towards something better. So ask yourself, what if the worst thing that ever happened to you was actually the best thing? What if right now you are in the middle of a story that is setting you up for something incredible, something you just can't see yet? Would you still waste time feeling sorry for yourself? Or would you start looking for the opportunity hidden inside your struggle? Because here's the truth. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who avoid hardship. They are the ones who learn how to turn their hardship into power. And if you can do that, if you can shift your mindset and start seeing failure as fuel, then there is nothing, absolutely nothing that can stop you. The hidden patterns of fate. Why everything happens for a reason, even if you don't see it yet. Life is not random, but it often feels that way. We live through moments of chaos, through heartbreak, through loss, and we tell ourselves that it's meaningless, that things just happen, that we are victims of chance, that the universe is indifferent to our struggles. But what if that's not true? What if everything that has ever happened to you was part of a larger pattern, a sequence of events leading you exactly where you need to be? What if nothing is meaningless, and every loss, every failure, every disappointment was actually setting you up for something greater? The problem is that we experience life in real time. We don't have the luxury of hindsight when we need it most. We don't get to zoom out and see the full picture, so we judge everything based on how it feels in the moment. And in the moment, pain feels like pain, failure feels like failure, rejection feels like rejection. But time has a way of revealing the truth, that what once seemed like the worst thing that could ever happen to us was actually a turning point, a necessary detour that led us to something better. Think about it. How many times in your life have you wanted something so badly, only for it to slip through your fingers? Maybe it was a job, a relationship, an opportunity that you were certain was meant for you. And when it didn't work out, it felt like a betrayal, like the universe had denied you something that should have been yours. But then, months or years later, you look back and realize, thank God, that didn't happen. Because if it had, you wouldn't have found what you truly needed. This is the hidden pattern of fate. We think we know what's best for us, but we don't. We make plans, set goals, and tell ourselves that if only things would go exactly as we imagined, we would be happy. But the truth is, we are terrible at predicting what will actually fulfill us. The things we think we want are often distractions, illusions, paths that would have led us in the wrong direction, and sometimes it takes failure to correct our course. Sometimes it takes losing what we thought we needed to find what we were actually meant for. Consider the stories of those who have achieved incredible things. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before someone finally took a chance on Harry Potter. If she had given up after the first, the second, or the 10th rejection, the world would never have known her story. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job for lacking creativity. If he had accepted that failure as truth, there would be no Disneyland, no Mickey Mouse, no empire built on imagination. These people didn't just experience failure, they experienced it repeatedly, brutally, in ways that would have convinced most people to quit. But they didn't, because whether they realized it or not, their failures were part of a bigger pattern, a necessary process that shaped them into who they needed to become. But here's the thing, these patterns don't just exist in the lives of the famous, they exist in your life too. You might not see it yet, but everything that has ever happened to you, the good, the bad, the heartbreaks, the setbacks, the moments that made you question everything, is part of a larger design, a story that is unfolding in ways you can't yet understand, a story that is still being written. The hardest part is trusting this process when you are in the middle of it. It's easy to look back and see how everything connected in hindsight. But when you're in the storm, when you're experiencing loss, when life is tearing apart the plans you carefully made, it doesn't feel like part of a bigger picture. It just feels like suffering. And that's when most people give up. That's when they decide that life is meaningless, that they are simply unlucky, that there is no pattern, only chaos. But what if in those moments, instead of resisting, you chose to trust? What if you reminded yourself that the universe is always moving you toward where you are meant to be, even when it doesn't make sense? What if, instead of labeling things as good or bad, you simply accepted them as necessary? Would you still feel so defeated? Would you still cling to your ideas of how life should be? Or would you open yourself to the possibility that what is happening right now, no matter how painful, is leading you somewhere important? This is the mindset that separates those who thrive from those who remain stuck. It's not that successful people never suffer. It's not that they never experience loss, failure, or moments of doubt. It's that they refuse to see setbacks as permanent. They trust the process, even when it's brutal. They understand that life is not happening to them, it's happening for them. And because of that, they keep moving forward when others stop. They keep believing when others lose faith. They keep searching for the meaning hidden inside the chaos. So ask yourself, what if everything that has ever happened to you was necessary? What if every loss, every heartbreak, and every closed door was actually protecting you from something that wasn't meant for you? What if the things you thought were ruining your life were actually redirecting you towards something greater? Would you still resist? Or would you start trusting the process even when it doesn't make sense? Because here's the truth, the universe is not against you. You are not cursed, you do not have bad luck. You are simply in the middle of a story you don't fully understand yet, and if you can learn to trust that, if you can learn to embrace the unknown instead of fearing it, then one day you will look back and realize that everything made sense all along. Breaking free from the illusion of control, how to surrender to the flow of life and finally find peace. We spend our lives trying to control things we were never meant to control. We plan, we predict, we set expectations, believing that if we just work hard enough, if we just do everything right, life will unfold exactly as we imagined. But life doesn't work that way. It never has. No matter how much effort we put into shaping our future, there will always be forces beyond our control, unexpected losses, unforeseen detours, moments of chaos that remind us how little power we actually have over the grand design of our lives. And yet, we resist this truth. We cling to control, afraid of what might happen if we let go. But what if control is the very thing keeping us stuck? What if the reason we feel lost, frustrated, and exhausted isn't because life is unfair, but because we are fighting a battle we were never meant to win? What if peace, true, deep, unshakable peace, doesn't come from controlling life, but from surrendering to it? The greatest suffering in life comes not from what happens to us, but from our resistance to it. We experience pain, and instead of accepting it, we fight it. We lose something or someone, and instead of grieving and letting go, we obsess over how things should have been. We hold on to expectations, believing that if life doesn't match our vision, then something is wrong. But nothing is wrong. Life is simply unfolding in ways we don't yet understand. And the more we resist, the more we suffer. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most at peace. Chances are they weren't the moments when everything was perfect. They were the moments when you let go, when you stopped trying to force things, when you accepted life as it was instead of how you thought it should be. Maybe it was after a heartbreak, when you finally stopped chasing someone who had already left. Maybe it was after a failure, when you finally stopped trying to prove yourself and just embraced where you were. Maybe it was in a moment of stillness when you realized that you didn't need to have all the answers to be okay. Surrender is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is the ultimate act of faith. The decision to trust that life knows what it's doing even when you don't. It doesn't mean you stop trying or that you stop working toward your goals. It means you stop attaching yourself to outcomes. You stop believing that your happiness depends on things going a certain way. You stop living in fear of the unknown and start embracing it. Because here's the truth. The more you try to control life, the more it controls you. The more you cling to expectations, the more disappointment you invite. The more you resist the flow of life, the more you suffer. But the moment you let go, the moment you surrender to the uncertainty, the chaos, the unpredictability of it all, you become free. Free from the illusion that you must have everything figured out. Free from the fear that has kept you stuck. Free to actually live instead of just surviving.